Welcome back. Australian authorities are taking major steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19, going into a snap one-week lockdown after recording its first case of the virus in more than a year. More in this report.
The Australian capital Canberra has gone into a snap lockdown for the next 7 days after registering its first COVID case in more than a year. Close contacts of that person have now been traced and 3 more positive cases have been confirmed. While the Territory's Chief Minister has described the current situation as the most serious public health risk to the area since the pandemic began. Well, we can cross over live to Canberra because Henry Bello is a political journalist for the Australian network ABC. Good to see you. You've only just moved back. Tell us what happened to you, Henry.
Oh, well, that's right. I've just moved back from London. So when you arrive in Australia, you have to do 2 weeks of mandatory quarantine. So I did that in a complex in the Northern Territory, just south of Darwin, and then left that on Sunday night. And then moved back to Canberra, had a few days of relative freedom, and now, like most of the eastern seaboard, Canberra, where I am right now, has gone into lockdown, joining Melbourne and Sydney, really where most of the people live in Australia. So it's another lockdown here.
Another lockdown. So what are the conditions like then for you, Henry?
Well, the conditions that really have just come into effect in the last couple of hours are pretty strict by international standards. Most shops are closed, so retail, that's all closed. Non-essential work is being told to be done from home. You can only go outside to exercise for 1 hour. If you go outside, you need to wear your mask at all time. That's a differentiation from what we've seen in some parts of the world where you need to wear a mask. But it's really interesting in Canberra because this is the first case in this community for 13 months. Over a year, people have been living without a single case of COVID in the community. There's been this sense that the people here have avoided this by good luck and a really vigilant stance against community transmission.
So I wonder what the reaction is like then, given that this is one case, as you were saying. It has then since been traced, 3 other positive cases have been found. But given how that compares to, say, well, places not least in the UK, the US, how are people taking this lockdown?
It's been really interesting comparing it, having lived in the UK when there was the first lockdown, to here, which is the first lockdown for people living here. And if you remember back a year ago, there was lots of reports of people rushing to supermarkets and really, buying everything they could get their hands on, toilet paper, essential items like that. We saw that this afternoon. The government announced that there would be this lockdown at about 2 p.m. and then it was effective from 5 p.m. There was a rush on the supermarkets. By and large, this is a town that's mostly comprised of government workers who work in the public servants. As a rule, they tend to be very law-abiding. There is a sense that people are willing to support this, hoping that it can just last for 7 days, and not what's happened in Sydney, which is a 7-week lockdown. It really doesn't have any end in sight.
OK, well, Henry, really good of you to take time out to speak to us, and nice to see you safely in Australia, having left the UK. Good luck with the lockdown. Henry Bello, ABC correspondent. Thank you.
In other news, a gospel artist is encouraging St. Lucians to develop a love for each other, for country, and for God. The artist, Denver Pierre, penned the song Land of My Birth during what he calls a tumultuous time in St. Lucia.
When I did this song, it was not even doing it so that it could become the next big thing, but I wanted to address a situation that is a big thing, and crime is a big thing. So I'm really expecting it to reach across St. Lucia and probably reach over to the islands and probably across the world. Certain people who have viewed the video or listened to the song, it said to me that it's a very timely song. So I am expecting that song will definitely reach some people.
He hopes that artists like himself will use their platform to uplift instead of fostering division and strife.
When I look at our generation today, even the generations before, there were certain eras where certain types of music were played. And after that era of music, then you would see what happens afterwards. You understand? So there were love songs. So many people were in love. You understand? But with me, I'm a gospel artist, and the word gospel means good news. And I believe that even in this time where we constantly hear bad news, it's important that the messages we put in songs should have something that is extremely positive. Why I say that? Because when we look at the youth of today, if we have to go back a couple years before, and we look at troubled youth today and the type of music that they were fed with, violent music and music that was derogatory, music that would put women down, then you'd understand what's affecting the generation. So my job as an artist, and I would encourage a lot of the other artists, because I see a lot of talented artists in St. Lucia and around the Caribbean, around the world, but we have to use the gift that we have been given by God in a positive way to influence the youth.
The song debuted today, the 12th of August. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. When we return, the latest weather forecast.